Alright y'all, welcome back to the channel and to some more home defense testing, and today we've got another very interesting combo to try out. I have some suspicions on how these shells might perform and what we might see from them, but they are a pretty interesting load that I don't know that I've ever seen or ran across before, and one of you guys sent them in to us as well, so we're absolutely going to try them and see what they can do, because who knows, they could surprise us. We've had several other shells surprise us in the past. I don't know that these are going to be one of them, but we'll see what they can do. But as for the shells I've got today, big thank you to Adam for sending some of these over. These are one of a bunch of different loads he has sent us recently, so big shout out to him, because I don't know that I've ever ran across these before. But we've got some of these, the Lambro Guard buckshot loads. These are another one of those just cheap, basic import style shells. It does say here on the side that these are produced in Greece, so if that's true, I don't think we've ever shot a shell from Greece before, but they are a 12 gauge 2 3/4 inch 9 pellet double aught buck load at 1325 feet per second. So specs wise, they're very standard equipment here. Another interesting thing about the box is they have a measuring tape on the side. Don't really know why. That's something you see sometimes on some federal turkey shells to measure the spur length or something, but on a box for home defense shotgun shells, don't really know why that's there, but I guess you got it if you need to measure something out on the range with it. Maybe that's to measure the pattern sizes if you put these on a board or something. I don't know. But just another very basic import cheap style shell. From what I've seen, these seem to be around $15 a box for 25, so that's 60-ish cents per round. And here's what one actually does look like. Pretty interesting dark green color, but you can see in there, they're not plated, there's no buffer material, and they don't have a wad either. Just a plastic overshot card, and they're gonna have some sort of a little gas seal base wad piece that just separates the pellets from the powder under them as well. Usually, these style shells are okay in close quarter scenarios. They're gonna do the job, but typically they don't really hold any kind of a tight pattern overall. So I guess we'll see what they can do, since I've never tested a shell from Greece before. But as for the shotgun we're running them through, I brought out the classic Remington 870 special purpose, 18.5 inch cylinder bore barrel. So nothing fancy here. Nice, basic, short, home defense, tactical style setup. So we'll see how those guard shells can actually do through a basic setup like this. But as for today's test, we're running it the same as usual. We're going to shoot 5 shots ranging from 7 to 25 yards, all of them through the chrono as well. So we're going to shoot 7, 10, 15, 20, and 25. That'll cover everything from the same room to down the hall, across the living room to the porch, or out to the driveway or a shed, if for whatever one-off reason you need to take that shot and you determine that it is a good shot that you actually have to take. So enough talking, let's get you guys a view of these targets. We'll shoot our shots, and although I don't expect anything special, I guess we'll see just how good these Lambro Guard shells actually can do for us. Alright, so for our velocities, real quick, before we look at our targets, we had a boss claim of 1325, and we honestly weren't terribly far off from that with our 18.5 inch barrel. We had 1254, 1247, 1236, 1244, and 1270, for an average right at 1250. So 75 feet per second below their boss claim. That's definitely a few inches worth of barrel length, but still 1250 for a 9 pellet load of double aught is plenty good enough for your average home defense scenario, no doubt about it. And these are very much so average in the recoil department as well. Not magnum, over the top, big 3 or 3.5 inch shell type of recoil, but very standard buckshot shell recoil overall. Definitely not a low recoil option if that's what you're looking for. And it seems like they were relatively consistent for velocity as well, which is a little surprising for a cheap import load. So that's nice to see. But let's head over here and take a look at our intruders and see how they fared. All right, so we'll start here, kind of in the same room or down a hallway, up close and personal with our 7 and 10 yard spreads. At 7 yards, we had a very nice, even condensed area of pellets, 4¼ inches of spread, both left to right and up and down. It's right at 4¼ inches. That little strike you see down there at the bottom is just the little base gas seal piece behind the pellets. We'll take a look at that here in a minute. But moving over to 10 yards, we opened it up to 9½ inches, but still kept a pretty even spread of them overall. Everything is definitely within a typical average silhouette size target there. So up close and personal, that's plenty good enough. It is not the tightest spreads. Obviously, a Federal Flight Control or Hornady load with the Versatite wad would definitely blow these out of the water. But it's a nice even spread at a good velocity. And if it came down to it, and this is what you had, and you were in a home defense scenario, it would absolutely do the job. There's no doubt about it. No major 9th pellet flyers or anything like that going on yet. So for a basic load of double-aught with no wad, no plating, no buffer or anything, that's perfectly fine. It would absolutely work. It's just kind of going to be up to you to determine whether you trust your life with a cheap import shell like that or not. And I guarantee you 99.9% of the time, these shells are going to fire and they're going to go off. But that's up to you to decide. Moving over to 15 yards, anywhere from here on out to farther ranges, you would have to contemplate whether you should or shouldn't take that shot. But we still kept a pretty nice even spread of pellets. I might have favored a touch to the right, but it's 14 inches of spread. Maybe that far bottom right pellet is just a little bit outside of the group compared to the rest, but no major 9th pellet flyers still. It's a very nice even spread otherwise, and it would absolutely do the job for sure. So I'm liking how even of a spread that we're able to keep with these so far. But now moving over to 20 yards, we definitely continue to open it up. We now are at 22 inches of overall spread. It is still a pretty even spread of pellets. It's just quite a bit more broad. We're starting to get more space between the pellets. Maybe once again, this bottom left pellet might kind of be almost a 9th pellet flyer, but it's really not anything too crazy compared to the rest of the spread. We've seen them way off the paper in different areas and just all over the place. So still, it's holding a pretty even spread, but I think starting at 20 yards or so, we're starting to really kind of open it up and let the pellets do what they want, at least through a cylinder bore like we've got in that 870. If you had to take that shot for whatever reason you can think of, would it do the job? Yes, it would. I definitely wouldn't want to be standing in front of it, that's for sure. And finally, we have our 25 yard spread. We opened it up a little bit more to 24½ inches from top to bottom down there, but it's pretty much the same story as we saw at 20 yards. Pretty even spread overall. That bottom left pellet might be our farthest out, and I bet if we shot these at longer ranges, we would really start to see that become our 9th pellet flyer. But everything else is still very consistent right through the center mass right there. So still, to 25 yards, through a cylinder bore, that's going to do the job. So honestly, these aren't that bad. For a cheap import shell, I'll take that all day long. And we've seen way worse. There's no doubt about that. We've seen import shells at 25 yards just pretty much cover the whole paper in buckshot. And that's not what we saw here. It's a more open spread than a Flight Control or a Hornady shell would be, but that might be what some people are looking for, especially at closer ranges. And these would do fine for that scenario. So looking at this overall here, I'm kind of liking what I'm seeing. I don't know that I would use these in my home defense shotgun, ideally anyway. If this is the shell I had or what I could get, I wouldn't hesitate to run them if I had to. As long as they go bang consistently, they're going to do the job. But up close and personal, that might be about the perfect spread for what some people are looking for. It's tight, it's condensed, it's even, but it's not overly tight, and it's also really not blown all over the place either. At least to 15 yards, if I had centered that shot up a little bit better, everything would be within your average silhouette. So for some people, that's exactly what they're looking for. A cheaper, more basic option that's going to work, and that might be it. And to be honest with you, compared to a lot of the other import shells that we get that are loaded the same way, mind you, this might be one of the better ones I've tested so far. And here's one of the little gas seal base wad pieces that I found. Doesn't do much to control the shot like a full-size wad would or anything, but it does provide a good cushion right on ignition. That way those pellets aren't just blowing through everything. These did support it pretty good, it looks like. You can see the little bit of impressions those pellets left, but nothing major as far as damage goes. And it clearly didn't like try and push through our pattern or anything like that and blow the center of it out. So for being as basic as it is, I think it did its job just fine. Alright y'all, well, what do you think about that performance right there? Overall, I don't think there's really much to complain about, considering what the shell is. It's a basic, cheaper, import style load, and it seems to do the job just fine. Now for me, these are probably still just a target range load more than anything else, but if this is what I could get, and I needed them in a home defense shotgun, I would run them. We've seen way worse from other similar shells, that's for sure. So these are pretty decent considering what they are. Overall, I think it's about realistic for what I expected coming into it, but I thought we would actually start to get a less consistent or a less even spread, especially once we got to 15 yards and beyond. And really, we didn't quite see that. It kept a pretty nice even clump of pellets, even though it wasn't the tightest patterns we've seen. So not too terrible overall. But let me know what you think down in the comments. Is that about what you expected to see? Were you a little surprised one way or the other? Have you tested any of these Lambro Guard buckshot loads? And if so, what kind of results have you seen from them? Is this a combo or a shell that you would ever use in your home defense shotgun, or do you just prefer to have a little tighter pattern, maybe a little higher quality shell like a Federal or Hornady or something of that nature? Maybe you trust those shells a little more than you do these Guard shells, or is this exactly what you're looking for, just a cheap basic option that is probably going to go bang when you pull the trigger? And maybe what other stuff do you want to see us try with those shells? Let me know what you guys want to see down below. But with that being said, I've got some more testing to get done for you guys, so I'm going to get back to it. As always, you have the channel Instagram as well as the mailbox where you can send stuff if you'd like. All the information will be in the description if you're interested in it, but I'm going to get back to it, so I'll see y'all in the next one.